The Home Pros Radio Show.
I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and this is the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. One thing that my co-host Shane Hips and I enjoy about our line of work is there is never a shortage of adventure. Whether it's the interesting repairs that people try to complete on their own or the interesting people themselves, there is always something new to see and something new to learn from the story attached to it. We share some of these stories with you in this episode of the Home Pros Radio Show podcast, and to help paint the picture for you, we've included some visual aids using our RIC Home Inspections photos from the field, which are included in the show notes of this podcast episode. Be sure to check them out as we listen and learn from some of our latest adventures in home improvement and repair.
Let's go to our Facebook and the
RIC Home Inspections photo from the field.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
Did you see that?
Yeah, we've got 4 photos that we put out there. The most interesting one was the one in the lower right-hand corner. It's hard to see, but if you zoom in, you'll notice somebody laying down in the grass, sleeping. So I arrive at this house. The homeowner lets me in and leaves. It's vacant. It's been vacant for about a year or so. I'm inspecting it, going around, checking everything. Go around the backyard, and there's a body in the backyard. And I'm like, I want to run. I didn't know what to do.
I wouldn't know what to
That's
do.
why that picture is so foggy. I was like, I got to take a picture of this. I don't want to get too close. And I was like, what do I do? And like all the cops?
Did you write it up on the home inspection?
Yeah. Homeless guy, backyard. That's the sign you're in the wrong neighborhood. So anyway, I didn't know what to do. So I was like, well, I'll see if he moves. I'll just see what happens. So I went inside and I started opening and closing doors, opening and closing the windows, trying to make it, yeah. And he didn't move. I'm like, maybe he's dead. So it was scary. And then I had to do the crawl space, and it was full of stuff like shoes. There's a comforter under there and all that. This is a house that was vacant for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I waited for the homeowner to come back. And then I was going to say, we got a situation here. Not sure if it's live or dead, but, well, it was the funny thing about it was I'm getting ready to suit up to go into the house, maybe a couple hours into the home inspection. And then here he comes, just walking out from the backyard as if he's like, nods at me like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hi. And then he just walks off like he's...
Yeah, that's his normal routine.
Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was glad to know that I didn't have to...
That is a weird feeling, though, because when we bought our building, our office over there, for those of you who don't know where our office is, it's the old Ghana Lounge over on Bruce Road. It's on the side of 85. Mm-hmm. But when we bought that building, it had been unoccupied for a long time. And when we went under it, there had obviously been several transients living under there. And it's just a weird feeling because you're walking around, you're thinking, okay, is someone going to be under here? Am I going to run into somebody? You know, what's going to happen? But luckily we didn't run into anybody. But it is really a eerie feeling whenever.
I did not want to crawl through that crawl space.
Right.
It was like, man, did not want to do that. I didn't know what I'd be crawling under or through or what I'd run into. Scary feeling. I bet there's some realtors out there that have some stories to share.
Oh, I'm sure.
And if you're out there, let's hear from you. We've got a question here let's move over to Piedmont. We got this question from Jenny this week. We have rotted wood in the trim around our front porch entry door. What is your recommendation for how to fix this issue? This is my favorite part of the question because I see this from time to time. Is it acceptable to use a material such as Bondo for the repair?
You can go to the standard answer.
Things that make you go,
It depends.
It depends.
Now, I think there are certain times that you could certainly do that. I mean, not on a huge hole or whatnot. I mean, if you can replace the wood, that's the best thing to do is cut it out and replace the wood.
That's the ideal way of taking care of it. But there are times when it might be more beneficial.
Yeah, like on certain parts of the window. Say you're on the window sash and you can't get that sash anymore, and there's a small hole, you know, maybe as long as you get all that rotted wood out and then completely fill it with whether it be an epoxy, Bondo, wood fill, whatever. If you get something that will harden and water can't continue to get in there and you can seal it off good, that may be your best option, because if you can't get the window sash and it matches every other window on the house, I mean, you're sort of out of options. It's hard to cut on a window sash without it falling apart on you.
You say make sure you get all of the rotted wood out. Why is that important?
Well, because if not, it's going to...
If you have a little hole or whatever, why not just fill it with Bondo and be done with it?
Because you're going to have a cavity, and if there's any rotted or soft wood still there, it's eventually water is going to get through.
I got you.
It's sort of like changing subfloor under a... where there's rot. If you can technically shore it from underneath, but there's still going to be some air pockets there and if you have air pockets, eventually it's going to fail probably.
Gotcha. So it's okay to use something like, and Bondo is a brand name. I'm sure there are other brand names out there. It's okay to use it if you're using, say, like a filler.
Right.
Like,
yeah, not a complete patch stuff. Don't do it like
a
car that just got sideswiped down the road. Not like that.
You could bounce a dime off of it. I've seen that where it's like, just keep adding. Throw some great stuff in there too while you're at it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just fill it up with everything.
So there are times when it's okay and times when it's not. Now, I feel like I can go into homes that are built around the 1980s, 1990s, especially driving into neighborhoods where I know that were built in that era, and I'm like, well, let's go ahead and write it up. Let's go ahead and put it in the report. We got rotted wood.
Wood rot around the brick mold and the door frame.
Yeah.
Door jam.
Yeah. Why do we see it in that particular era?
I don't have an exact answer to that question, but I think it's probably there's probably multiple answers for that. One of the things is the house style without a covered front porch became popular around that time. You have a lot of the production builders, had started coming in. And so
this was the 80s were basically the front end of the production builder era, if you would.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about the quality of building. I'm talking about the style it was, because it was a less expensive house to build.
Easier
without
way
the
of doing
cover
it.
Front porch and all. So you got the wall that goes straight up, and water water will hit that front door. And anywhere where water sits long enough, it's going to rot the wood. So you figure all that water just hitting that front porch, and I think that was a big contributor. Because anytime I go up to a house where I see there's a front porch that's not covered, or that it's wide open like that, I automatically my eyes always go down to the brick molding in the door jamb at the front door.
This is also an era where wood trim was used a lot. Nowadays, we use all kinds of different other materials.
Yeah.
Or if we have wood, we wrap it with aluminum or something like that.
Correct. And in that era, everything was left wide open. So if any paint chipped at all, now you got access for the water to get in there and rot the wood.
So if you have those types of features on your home, say like a front porch that's not covered, just be careful. Keep an eye on those areas. A lot of times what will happen is it'll rain and water will splash up against. Even if you have an awning or something, water can still splash up against the house. I've seen it where sprinkler heads aren't adjusted properly and they're spraying against
Water in the front door.
I should have taken a picture of this one. There's a sprinkler head I saw 3 days ago that was spraying the neighbor's house.
Oh, nice. I bet the neighbor really appreciate that. Wonder if her house is getting any bigger.
Yeah, I know.
They're not complaining because they're hoping the house grows.
Yeah, very, very nice. I have to give you that one. That was pretty good. Oh, we moved in. We're at 50. It was 1,500 square feet, but for some reason, our home is appreciated. So, keep an eye out on those types of things around houses, especially this time of year. April showers bring closing contractor to your house to fix the rotted wood all around the outside. The other thing I want to point out, too, is we'll write those types of things up in a home inspection, and it's tricky because I could say in a report, I saw rotted wood on the front porch and rotted wood at the back living room sliding glass door or whatever. And then, what I would do is I'd write, rotted wood was seen on the exterior wood trim, recommended the licensed contractor repair this. And then I'll have a photo of the front porch where it's rotted and the back deck, sliding glass door where it's rotted. And inevitably, the buyer asks for that to be repaired. The repair is done, but the contractor uses the photos, but doesn't check or repair any of the other areas. And that can be tricky because the homeowner then moves in and goes, the eaves are rotted up on the left side of the house, and why wasn't that fixed?
Right. And in places like that, the contractor's not going to necessarily be climbing up on the eaves of that. So, the buyer may want to look into it real good to make sure. So, contractors will look for the stuff and all, but they're not necessarily obligated to find everything on that. So, I mean, you got, and the contractors could go out there and give pricing on the specific things that they see. I mean, a contractor wouldn't be doing, he wouldn't be doing himself any favors if he just said repair all rotted wood on the house, because he's leaving that wide open.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even if you're the buyer, I would probably recommend, taking a good look at it yourself too. I mean, especially if it was noted in the home inspection to look, there could be any
There's
other
a really good
locations.
chance, even if there's a little spot here or there, there's a really good chance there's going to be more somewhere else. So, that's one of the challenges when you go from home inspector to home buyer to real estate agent, then back to seller, then to contractor. Imagine all the different lines of communication that can break down.
Sort of like the whole thing you did in elementary school where you said
the
one thing to
telephone
the next to you, then it gets around at something completely different.
Yep, exactly. And I've seen that where I've gone back to check stuff on a reinspection. It's completely different. I didn't write that up. What?
That certainly wasn't my verbiage. I don't know.
So, but that's important. Another thing that's important to note is another item from if you're checking out Facebook.
The RIC Home Inspections photo from the field.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
Did you see that?
We got a photo on there that's interesting. It's the lower left corner. This is on the roof. Check that out. Zoom in if you can, and take a look at what's wrong with that roof when you get a chance. We're going to take a look at that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that roof installation that is quite interesting. That's from that was a vacant house. It was a foreclosure that I was taking a look at the other day. This is an addition that apparently the homeowner decided to add themselves, because I can't imagine there being a licensed roofer who would have put a roof on like this. Here's what it's kind of hard to see. I probably should have done a close-up picture, but I did want to get that roof line of that back porch area. What they did is they put the porch on, and then they roofed it, and then they ran the shingles into the main roof and bent them up, if you will, onto the surface of the original roof, and then just caulked it.
Hey. Caulk will hold for a little while, I guess.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't leak now. That's one thing.
Yeah, it worked. As soon as they got done, they tested it to see that it was working right, and they expect it to work from here on out, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. It's like the roof line goes up. Yeah, here's the deal. We'll write something like this. I don't want to make fun of people, but I'm going to make fun of people. We'll write up an issue like this on a roof, and this is inevitably a response we'll get. Well, it doesn't leak right now.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's installed properly. So that's an interesting application there.
Yeah, there are temporary fixes for a lot of things.
Yeah, and it was just like, and they also, I think, one of the reasons I put that photo in there is I also wanted to include that bay window because that was apparently added on as well.
Right.
And so they slapped that roof line on and, again, folded the shingles up on top of the original and then caulked it. I was like, man.
No flashing, no nothing.
Nothing. I'm like, what is going on? So, you know what made it even worse is that back side of the house is a vaulted ceiling. So there's no attic to go in and see the leakage.
Right.
So
you'll find out later.
Yeah, and at that point, with an arrangement like that, it's going to be too late because you're not going to know until that moisture gets down into your drywall and all that other nasty stuff.
Right.
Oh, look, we've got Scout. All right, so we have a text that came through.
Okay.
Mike's hanging on our every word. He's from Greenville. He's a real estate agent, and here's his question. He constantly sees inspection reports that point out issues with open junction boxes and splices in the attic and crawl spaces. Why does this come up so often, he asks, and what is the concern with this issue? Why is it a big deal?
There's a couple of different things here. One, if there ever was an arc or a spark, for one, that if there was combustible wood right there, dry combustible wood, there could be an issue there.
Yeah.
Another thing, if there's an arc and spark and that box is closed, it's not going to be getting any more oxygen to feed a fire. And another thing is you wouldn't be able to touch it.
Yeah.
That's
shock hazard.
Yeah, shock hazard. I mean, if because it's possible for that, and I see it a lot where the hot wire's stripped out more than what the wire nut covers, and then if somebody happens to touch it, I mean, you can.
Well, you squirrel safety.
You haven't gone over the photo from the field with the squirrel laying right next to the junk spot.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
That's right. The reason why we want to cover those junction boxes is for squirrel safety. If you take a look at our Facebook post, this is a house I was in a week ago. I was like, is that a? And I had to get up close and take a picture. Open junction box, inches away, dead squirrel. I bet.
He probably was chewing on something in there.
Yeah, he probably got him.
He got a hold of a hot and a ground or neutral at the same time.
He completed the circuit. So that's another reason is for not for squirrels, but for people. Hopefully you don't have to crawl through your attic or crawl space too much. But also think about the HVAC technicians, plumbers, and folks who have to crawl. There are some folks, inspectors, and I mean even I will. Will write up an entire section of the crawl space. I can't go in there because wiring is exposed or loose, not secured to the house like it should be.
Yeah, you see them. Sometimes you see wires laying on the ground underneath, and I've seen them laying right in the middle of a puddle. A lot of times it's like, well, it's under there. Nobody, it's got wire nuts on it. No one's going to touch it. But what happens if that thing falls in the puddle or across a black iron pipe under there, and somebody's crawling under there and grabs hold of that black iron pipe, if the hot's touching it. I mean, there's
so many different things.
There's so many things that can happen with electrical being open like that.
Yeah. So the thing is, too, it's an easy repair. It's not going to take much to put a junction box on those splices, put a cover on the junction box, if you will. It's very inexpensive. It usually happens. Why does it happen? I think it's usually because you get to the point where you're like wire nutting the splice together. Does it work? Yeah, all right, good. And then they get out of the crawl space.
And let's say it's in the middle of the summer and it's in the attic. I mean, who wants to stay there any longer than what you have to?
Yeah.
I mean, the homeowner go up there, cut whatever they have to, tie it in, and get out of there.
And if you're going to do it, just make sure you complete the job just for your own safety and for fire safety as well. I was in a house literally 2 years, maybe 3 years ago. I climb up the attic stair and I look to the right and I see something glowing.
Oh.
I'm like, what's going on? And then I shine my flashlight. It's a whole mess of electrical line splices.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? And then you can hear this. Bzz, bzz. That would make a good closing contractor mystery sound. I should see if I can pull that audio. I made a video of this. I need to share it. So I go over there, and I'm like, I'm going to take a picture of this so I can share it on some of my realtor presentations, because you always get those rolling eyes from home buyers and stuff when you're like, junction boxes, whatever. And then just as I was like zooming in on the video, it went, shot a spark. That spark hit the insulation that was installed backwards.
Okay, so it's paper now.
Yeah. And it lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And here I was in an attic balancing between joists.
Oh, yeah. Trying to get away.
Watching a fire start in this house. And then I have oh, gosh.
I think I'm going to get blamed for this one.
But that was the longest 30 seconds or so. And I was like, what do I got to, what?
There's nothing like being stuck in an attic while a fire is starting right in front of you. Thankfully, that story does have a happy ending, and I'll be sure to share the rest of that story during one of our upcoming shows, and of course, on one of our upcoming podcast episodes. I also want to see if I can hunt down that video I mentioned so I can share that with you too. So let's keep in touch so you don't miss it. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you're notified of every episode as it's released. Also, when you get the time, please take a moment to leave us a review. Let us know what you think of our show. Your feedback helps us improve our program and helps us reach out to more listeners just like you. That's all the time we have for now. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and I'll look forward to being with you again next time on the Home Pros Radio Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can contact us directly and also learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. It's the Home Pros Radio Show online at homeprosradio.com or on the radio at 94.5 WGTK, The Answer.